Hello, everyone. Love the energy in the room, everybody chit-chatting and connecting and getting excited about the morning, as you should be excited because you're here now at the center of love. You could have been anywhere else on this fine Sunday morning. The sun is shining. You could be out for a walk. You could be relaxing, watching football, although I think football's over now. Shows what I know about professional sports. But you're here with us, and we're so grateful for your presence here, both physically and online. Welcome to the folks joining us via Zoom. It's a pleasure to see you all. And whether it's your first time here or you've been part of the center for a while, we're glad that you're here. As you know, the center exists for a simple purpose: to create a living space where love is practiced as a way of being. The center of love is a place where we can lower our guard, remember what matters, and return again and again to the deepest truth and culmination of all great spiritual traditions. What is this truth? That beneath all of our stories and struggles, beneath the roles and identities and masks that we wear, we all belong to something whole, complete, beautiful, and yes, perfect. In our community, we don't pretend that life is always easy. We don't bypass grief, anxiety, conflict, or exhaustion. Instead, we practice meeting what's here with presence. One of our guiding principles is as within, so without. In other words, the world that we see out there is shaped moment by moment by the world we are cultivating within ourselves. When we learn to be with ourselves more honestly, when we regulate, integrate, and reconnect, we naturally become safer, kinder, more grounded individuals. And that changes families, friendships, workplaces, and communities. Now, before we get into today's gathering, I'd like you all to feast your eyes upon the beautiful altar which was assembled by Ali, one of our members. Ali, did you want to say a few words about our altar before we go further?
Sure. I kind of had fun with it today. It's getting easier and more fun to do all the time. I was looking so hard for a horse, and we adapted this one. It is perfect. It's adorable. So it's about, because of course, the everybody knows the fire horse is coming up, the year of the fire horse next week. And so the fiery look to it. And then I also put crystals that are about abundance, prosperity, love, joy. Yeah, it's just simple and fun.
Beautiful. The year of the fire unicorn is upon us. I love it.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Thank you so much to everyone who contributed to this altar. Today's gathering is an invitation into that inner work I just referenced through one of the most direct doorways we have at our disposal. The breath. Breath is humble. It's happening whether we pay attention or not. In fact, for most of us, breathing just happens. We're not actually doing the breathing. And yet, the breath is profound. It's an ever-present bridge between body and spirit, between the voluntary and the involuntary, between the conscious mind and the deep intelligence of the nervous system. When we work with the breath, we're not just calming down. We're learning the art of embodied presence. We're learning how to come home. And today we're going to do it together. There's something powerful about breathing in community. When we gather with shared intention, our nervous systems begin to co-regulate. Our bodies receive subtle signals of safety. I'm not alone. I don't have to hold everything by myself. From that safety, clarity becomes more available. From that safety, love becomes more natural, not forced, but not performative, but arising from steadiness and connection. So today, let this be playful and real. Let it be simple. You don't have to achieve anything here today. You don't have to do it right. If all you do is notice your breath, let it move through you, then you should consider that a great victory. If you feel resistance, let that be included as well. The breath can hold it all. At the center of love, we often say, expect nothing and accept everything. That's a practice. And the breath is one of the gentlest teachers of that practice. Now, before we begin, a brief word about our guide this morning. Nicholas is a shaman initiated in childhood who now serves as a community connector and guardian, guided by a soul-level, lifelong commitment. He lives with reverence for life as ceremony, nurturing the breath of blessed embodiment and sharing his devotion day and night among sacred, medicine-hearted people. And that's all of us, by the way. Medicine-hearted people, I love that. And so with that, I will invite Nicholas to step up to the pulpit and lead us through this beautiful ceremony.
Thank you. Aloha. I'm Nicholas, yes, but I also go by Akaneik, which is a variation of the word Akananic, which comes from the word Akin, which is essentially a Lemurian word that references the cells that are in our thymus gland, our higher heart, that are called akinanic cells. And they're the only cells in our physical body that would be considered immortal, in that from day one till day whenever, those cells, unlike every other cell in our body, which usually within a year or two, we've totally changed every other cell in our body, they don't die. This is why it can be challenging to change someone's heart, but also liberating if we can shift the vibration. Which is why we're going to dance here soon to begin. And before we do that, let me say in honor of all of our all of our ancestors gathering around, and all the way back to the first one and in this circle with us, and may all beings be honored in that way of heart-centered presence connected to our mortal bodies and our immortal essence, as well as the eternal breath. In the original ancient Hebrew tradition, before even religion, I would feel the word Yahweh was utilized, which everyone spelt it differently and was often said the name you cannot spell, because Yahweh is essentially Yahweh. It's the inhale and the exhale, which is what connects us to our body, to nature, to the creator. And essentially anything we're going to say and create and bring into vibration or do or be or animate requires that breath. So the true remembrance of Yahweh and the creator and nature is the in and out of the breath and our intimate connection to that. And that's why what I like to share is super conscious connected breathing, and that we bring in all these extra dimensional supports beyond just breathing in the physical. But the essence of conscious connected breathing is just that conscious connected breathing. We're conscious, we're awake, we're aware that we're breathing with Yahweh, the inhale and exhale. And that's really what the meditation here is today, is to focus on your inhales, connecting your exhales, connecting your inhales. And that's the connected part, conscious connected breathing. And there'll be a little opportunity here and there to share and ask questions and stuff, but I'm really encouraging the sharing today through your embodiment, through your physical presence, through the radiance of your nervous system, and how we can all essentially share like that together without talking unless we choose to, or singing unless you're for or against that. But lastly, before we dance here, before we even say anything, right, and before we even hug someone, we're giving off information through our energy body. And in this ancient Lemurian way, connected to the academic system, which is essentially the connection between your belly and breathing and that heart and the communication that is the cyclical nature of your breath and the information that would come from that. You could sense how someone's feeling or what's going on or their state just through that. There's intimate, intuitive, telepathic communication that occurs through that. So that's what I'm hoping to demonstrate and for all of you to exemplify so that we can have a truly embodied experience here. So before we dance, I'll just remind you again that this conscious connected breath is essentially filling your belly, filling your heart, filling your lungs in this conscious connected circle of breath, where unless you feel like pausing or holding consciously, we're creating a circle of breath where there's no gaps between your inhales and exhales. And we're consciously choosing every breath in and out, consciously releasing, where we fill up. And as soon as you're full and grateful, you let go. As soon as you're empty and all clear, you fill back up again. And just with respects to the dancing, if you feel like sitting in your chair and dancing, or just closing your eyes and listening, that's cool too. If you feel like wandering around the space or dancing with the unicorn at the center here, and that's all welcome. And since we're talking about animals, I will say, as a matter of fact, dolphins and whales are essentially masters of conscious connected breathing. Every single breath that a dolphin or whale takes, gives, receives, is a conscious connected breath. They have to be aware. They don't, like us, have the autonomous breathing where when we're wandering around on land, forgetting that we're connected to the whole ocean, our body just breathes however our nervous system is, rather than those dolphins and whales. They always have to be regulating themselves and always have to be making conscious connected breaths. So hopefully they're dancing with us here too today. Now just notice and thank you, whether you're meditating or dancing in your chair or moving or just feeling now the group, how different that feels now that we've moved that energy. And that's really what I'm going to attempt to talk about here, but more so cue up an experience for everyone to integratively experience. And I'll be honest, a lot of what Ollie said to start there kind of dipped into my talk, but that's okay. I got other things I can talk about in the same way, but that's wonderful. You really tuned into it. But yeah, so just a reminder again with this breath, essentially you can breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, or in through your mouth and out through your mouth, or in through your mouth and out through your nose. If you're breathing in through your nose, it's activating your more passive nervous system. You're applying more control. It goes through your filter, nice way to calm down. When the mouth is open, it's kind of wide open. You're saying, I feel safe, just like you're going to eat or drink or give someone a kiss kind of thing. So it's really up to you, but the key is the conscious connecting bit of we're connecting inhales and exhales. So hopefully it's easier now that we've moved some of that energy. And, I will say that in this culture, there's so much stimulation and so much even just electromagnetic pressure on us that to be able to ground, to be able to move our body, to be able to come into awareness of our breath, it really does offer us a lot in how to move and meditate about where we're going, what we're doing, how we're being. And that's kind of the inspiration for this chat, is essentially identity and who we are as whoa human beings, and how the breath intimately connects us to that. Where, in this world, in this city kind of environment, most people are used to identifying themselves by a piece of plastic that they carry around, which is literally called an ID or an id, if you know psychology, which isn't actually you. It's a picture of you, it's a representation of you, it's an idea of you. It's not actually you. What do you do for a living? I spent a year answering that question intentionally by saying some response of breathing here and now. And if you knew what I went through and some of the reactions from people, you're not going to answer my question? I just did. I'm breathing with you right now. or someone who would ask that question, and then I'd say, yeah, I love to breathe like as well as I can in the moment. And they'd be like, look at this. And all of a sudden the question didn't even matter anymore. And I was like, why is that happening? But it's through this ego mind matrix, right? It's through actually this akinaic system and this breath of all this energy. And, our ego is stored in our emotional experience, in our diaphragm flap, and all these kind of parts of us where that will to express and our heart to really share who we are is essentially the essence of who we are. And that's why akinaic and the akine, it also kind of means essence. So every time I utilize that word, I'm reminding myself of my own essence connected to my breath presence, which brings me into my body, which is also why my name's Nicholas Presence. So who are you? And hopefully everyone's breathing with this, feeling everyone breathing, and let's let go of all these ideas of who we are, because essentially who you are is now and here and in your body. And in that way, it's essentially your nervous system, physically and physiologically speaking, that is the foundation for your identity. People can say whatever or claim whatever or get titles or certifications or utilize substances or all these different things to try and mask and veil and be a certain way of themselves. But ultimately, that nervous system and how we behave is the greatest indicator of who we are physically speaking. How we choose to embody, how we choose to respond, how we choose to react, that defines who we are more than anything. And it actually patterns our nervous system in a way with our breath intimately so, animating everything we do and choose and move and be. So that simple awareness of your breath connecting in and out and carrying that conscious intention of your inhales and exhales with how you're feeling through your embodiment, you can master the physical reality in the same way the dolphins and whales show everybody who connects with them, meditates with them, goes and swims with them. It's the same thing. Be present. Then you can feel joy. Then you're in your whole body. In a world where people do too much, think too much, which as soon as we're thinking, we're not present, or trying to be these things, or trying to uphold images, essentially the feelings get lost. And we could say that the feelings are the summation of sensation that we're feeling. And I like to say that feeling is essentially the language of nature. So if we're in tune with our feelings, if we're in our body, if we can connect that with our breath, we'll always know what to say, what to do, how to be with ourselves and everyone else. Just like before we started, before we danced, it felt a certain way. Everyone was kind of aware of that. Now it feels a certain way again. That's this shared collective resonance that if we're truly embodying in ourselves, we can integratively communicate with anyone. We can create safety with anyone. We can resonate with everybody. That's why I don't have too many super close friends that I have to hang out with all the time, because everywhere I go, I'm friends with anybody, even if it's animals or whatever. And that's really the freedom that comes with this. And I can kind of prove this quickly before we go into more of this. Since this is kind of a podium and talking, we've probably all experienced that moment where at a wedding or someone needs to speak at an event or something, and they come up here and shuffling papers, right? And they're a little nervous. Totally understandable. But everyone else is feeling that. And in fact, that person wouldn't be feeling like that if other people weren't. And what happens? There's a choice point where they can honor their authenticity, what they're really feeling, and speak to it and say, I'm a little nervous. Like, and then usually everyone laughs for some reason. Why? Because that's what's real. That's the truth. Now everyone else can be like, yeah, I was feeling that too. We saw you like shuffling those papers and we don't know what you're going to say or all this kind of stuff. Whereas the other choice would be not to say anything. And then I stumble and then I lose a page or whatever it is. And now everyone's in that experience. And that's how just one voice of truth truly embodied, that's in that resonance, it can kind of support everyone. And lastly, for now, that's kind of what a chief is to honor the indigenous. We were in a teepee, like where I'm from originally in Saskatchewan, and we're all sitting in a circle and we're going to have a sharing circle. The chief would be the one who's committed to breathing like we all are, who's staying in the center, who's going to listen to everyone as one with themselves so that you share, you share, you share, you share. Now it's my turn to share as the chief. I'm going to hear what everyone said because it's resonating with my nervous system that just felt that with everyone. And now I'm going to be a voice that's one with everyone. I'm going to share from that center, knowing everything I just felt is as real as everyone's sharing. If I can trust my voice and the truth of what I'm feeling, then I can speak for everybody, even though I'm not telling anybody what to do. And that's how guidance could be shared. I could say, you know, we all need to ground more to feel like we are now. And let's encourage our neighbors to dance together. And what if every conversation we needed to interrupt rather than pulling out a phone or changing the topic, we just started dancing? You know, and my favorite parallel for the phone that comes out often to disassociate or, you know, distract or the mind's gone somewhere is, would you pull out a novel in the middle of a conversation? Why is that accepted? Just like, how many times did you check your phone on the way here compared to, I tried to high five every tree and fern on the way here to get all the messages I needed to be present. Hopefully you're still breathing with all that. Filling your belly, filling your heart, filling your lungs in this circle. Just notice how, as you continue to do that, it's like filling your spiritual fuel to do that. Even eating or whatever other things we might ingest is only about 20% of the energy you're going to generate in the day, whereas your breath will generate 80% or more. That's why some people called breatharians don't need to eat because they're generating enough energy, which is what our cells need. Well, on food, food's one way to get energy. And lastly, before I open to any questions, there's a little sharing here. Consider that in your body, every time they try to count how many cells are in the body, it's more. It's like trying to measure a beach, but it's like trillions of cells. For one of your cells to be considered healthy, in other words, no disease, it's running optimally, it would have 0.7 volts of electricity running through. So that's almost 1 volt of electricity. The plugins are 250 volts of energy surging through. So consider that you have trillions of cells in your physical body. And for one healthy cell, 0.7, but let's round it up to 1. That means you have trillions of volts of potential energy just in your cells if you're energized and embodied. That's why the nervous system is the foundation of who we are, energetically speaking. And that's why every single person has that potential of like multiple lightning storms within them. Not if we're tired, not if we're not meeting our vitals, not if we're not grounded, not if we're not in our body, not if we're not honoring ourselves and one another. Does anyone have any questions at this point or things they'd like to share? We're all breathing aware.
Share that a couple of years ago, my son gave me a book called Breath. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Undoubtedly. And that was a epiphany. Of course, I resisted the message in there for a year and a half, and it's just this year finishing the book. But his message, do you remember the author?
I don't, but the first time I saw it was at a float center.
Anyway, the author got me involved in pranayama, and it has, so I practice breath work all day long now, and it's really helped with my anxiety. Big time. Just being, as we know, as soon as you focus on the breath, your consciousness is pulled in and you're centered and you're present. And when you're anxious, you're just anxious about something in the future. Of course, once you're present, the future dissolves. So I just leave that to Sunil.
Yeah. Beautiful, very well said. And yeah, usually anxiety for the future or worry from the past, but all of it not present. I like to say personally that breathing with embodiment is essentially spirituality. In other words, the spirit that we're in communion with, which could have these stories or religious this and that, all of it, right? All these ideas, all these things are animated by the breath. Can't have a phone conversation, you can't go to a movie, you can't do any of these things without the breath, which is essentially animating our beingness. And more than just air, we're actually breathing with everything, with all the elements, with all of ourselves. That's why breathing is spirituality embodied. So if someone like James or anybody is practicing continuous awareness, like being a dolphin or a whale like that, you're essentially empowering the spirit of your connection to your soul, which I consider your whole body. Your soul is your whole embodiment, which is naturally to be joy as a foundation, all wholly embodied. That's actually the natural, living, loving vibration that creates abundance and affluence. That's the natural way things are supposed to be. And you can see how if feelings are suppressed, energy, pressures, worries about the past, anxiety about the future, all this thing taking us out of actually just being joyful in the present, knowing that we have trillions of volts of electricity and magnetism within us to create what we need for ourselves here and now. We always essentially have enough of ourselves and what we need here and now to be more than content, to be joyful. That's why joy, more than just being happy, it's actually a state of whole embodiment where I've done breath work and cried tears of joy. I've felt madness and anger with the joy of like, yes, I'm finally aware of that. Joy is actually this wholeness of oneness of total embodiment that we can essentially experience all of our experience and know that like I'm okay, I'm safe, and I have everything I need. And wow, life is incredible kind of thing. So does anyone else have any?
I have a gratitude. Thank you for regularly reminding us to keep breathing. Because every time you reminded us during your talk, I wasn't anymore.
I felt that.
Yeah, of course you did. Yeah, and it's interesting. I've set two recurring alarms on my phone, 11:11, 3:30 in the 3:33 in the afternoon, to remind me to breathe. Because even though, like yourself, I try to breathe all day long, even during this talk, I was trying and I kept forgetting. So for me, having two reminders every day, at least I know I'm going to get some mindful breathing at least twice a day. Okay. The other thing I wanted to also commend you on is, and this is biased because I said this a few months ago, we were talking about what is spirituality. And I did a little bit of a spiel on that, a little bit of a talk on what does it mean to be spiritual. And at the end, as a joke, I said, the root meaning of the word spirit is spiritus, which is Latin for breath. So I said, anyone who breathes is spiritual. And then you just said the very same thing, which I thought was very, so just wanted to reinforce that. But the difference between one who breathes and one to whom breathing is happening, there's a difference there, right? Breathing is always happening to us, but when we actually breathe, I agree that brings us into the present, and that is the essence, in my mind, of spirituality. So I commend you on that. That's my point.
Mhm. Thank you. Yeah, it's as soon as it's conscious, that means we're present with it, which means we're in our body. And respiration, inspiration all comes from the same word. But we can essentially, you don't need to necessarily know all this stuff either. That's why Yahweh and these kind of teachings, but like someone being in a flow state, say someone jogs and they get it right and they kind of get in, they're doing this naturally. Or child gets enough rest, has all their vital needs met, right? They go run from this thing to that thing. Wow, everything's amazing because they're in this state, right? And even while I'm talking, you can see if your mind goes into thinking, trying to figure it out, rather than just feeling it, right? Just trusting you'll get out of that what you need. The breath will kind of take care of you. But that's where thinking has really done a disservice, right? And like that's why I quit college as soon as I went to philosophy class, and they said, "Oh yeah, here you go." I was so excited to learn all these new ideas. And the first thing is, "I think, therefore I am." I'm like, "What?" I'm going for a jog. Yeah, he needed more hugs.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, right, as soon as we're thinking, the mind is actually a tool. It's not in control, right? It's like giving the hammer the power. As soon as we're thinking, we're projecting our energy into mind. Whereas I can show you a video where your mind doesn't pulse till your heart does, right? And that's why continuing to just, and it's enough to just come back to the awareness of your inhales and exhales to then be in that breath awareness or to be one with spirit, however you're breathing. And that's the beauty of it is whatever shape anybody's in or whatever state you're in, to simply come back to that. But truthfully, there can be trauma, memory, fears, all these different things that can essentially veil that awareness or put spirit between you and your breath. But the moment you reclaim yourself and your embodiment and your breath, which if you can't, ground, go to the ground, go to the mother. As soon as you ground or hear water for 3 minutes, your emotion clears. These natural elements are there to actually support us in like being our divine selves, being who we are, being in our body. And that's why, the greatest safety and protection and really our, you could say, divine nature is to physically honor ourselves in that way. All of our vitals. If we meet all of our vitals and all our needs, wants, desires, wishes, passions, dreams, everything just naturally comes into alignment. You can't actually get what you want if you haven't met your needs yet. You're not exactly desiring what would align with you in your heart if your needs aren't met, which brings us to our physical. And that's why literally our physical nervous system is the foundation for our identity. In other words, who we are and how we're being and how we can choose and what we can create. It's kind of like the divine mother, in a sense, physically speaking. So to truly honor that, which if you get up and check your phone or you got this idea, you got this list of things to do, how are you breathing? Do you have enough energy? Did you get enough rest? Do you feel safe? Are you grounded?
So you had your hand up, and then
Okay.
Sylvia after.
I was just gonna piggyback about your comment about reminders on your phone. I wanted to break away from social media, like just unconscious social media usage, just picking it up to check it. And so on all my social media apps, I have an app that when I open it, and I can program how long this is. If I take a deep breath and I have to wait 10 seconds
Oh, wow.
before it goes on, and I only check it 6 times a day.
Cool.
That's it. Like, and I can also control that. It could be 2 times in 1 day.
Wow.
So it's great.
Yeah.
You're like
Yeah.
a cell phone monk.
Yeah, take a deep breath. Yeah, that's it. I'll be.
We'll figure it out.
I can also post the
Yes, please.
app on the Facebook.
You're like a digital monk.
Thanks
Yeah,
for sharing that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
So,
Just on the other side of that, the digital piece too, is that, I don't know about others, but for me, having something track my progress in an area is actually something that's very motivating for me. And it's the only thing that's gotten me to meditate every single day is by tracking it on Insight Timer, because you get a running streak. And I'm not gonna like lose my 100-day running streak by 9 days. So if you can keep track.
Okay, you're like a digital Olympian monk.
Keep track of these habits and don't keep reinforcing that. Is that another app? Yeah, Insight Timer. Phones can be used for it.
Yeah, that's conscious intention, right?
Yeah.
Rather than your phone's deciding for you, you've inspired yourself with your phone. Cool. That's cool.
Sylvia. I lost the moment.
Okay, Arno?
Yeah, it's kind of new for me to think about breathing. Because I never got paid for breathing. I never earned a salary from it. And it was a solution seeking that I earned a salary for. And now when I hear about this, I said, yeah, I take breathing and my state of mind for granted. It's just a illusion. that works, and that's what I was paid for.
Mhm.
But now I realize that when you present all this, that the breathing itself will set up your mindset to a new place and do all kind of things. And now I think after the long career, well, maybe I could have been even better if I would have been learning about this, the breathing business.
Well, you can catch your breath now. Thank you.
I'm new here. My name is Paula.
Hi, Paula.
Here from Santa Barbara. I just wanted to touch on the grounding and the healing that comes from that. This past summer, I constructed a rock wall. I rummaged through the woods in my bare feet, collecting rocks and trying to move a boulder like this. I wasn't able to do it very far. I think I got 4 feet, and it's like that's where it sits. But in my history, I've had a lot of back issues, and I knew going in I would probably be very sore afterwards. And to my surprise, I was not. I actually felt like my whole being vibrated with the earth. And it did so for about 48 hours afterwards, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Was, and I feel so thankful that I got that opportunity, and I feel the more that we can ground, the better it is for us, and it coincides with the breathing and just being present. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Like the rock.
So have you said, were you conscious breathing while you were doing the?
It was not conscious breathing, but I feel that being grounded somehow, maybe I was doing it and not really thinking about it.
Yeah. Natural resonance.
I feel a lot of connection, obviously being grounded. I don't like wearing shoes.
When you said you were moving rocks?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, so-
big rocks.
I would be willing to bet that you were doing the breathing naturally because you're exerting yourself
Yeah,
physically.
right.
There's no way you were holding your breath while you're carrying big rocks, right? You're probably breathing deep and heavy, so.
You essentially can't be present unless you're breathing kind of consciously connected enough to be present with what you're doing. So being present with what we're doing. And when we're grounded, we're in that kind of natural presence, resonance. We all come from that vibration. That's our baseline frequency, you could say. So yeah, beautiful. And what a stone, I guess, to remember.
I just want to touch on that too. That connectedness, that groundedness, I think is why I love working with wood so much, and so many people do. Enjoy working with wood, standing a piece of wood, inspecting it and all that. But what I wanted to say is you're practicing connected breathing. I think should be the first 5 minutes of every human resources meeting where there's conflict resolution.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's partly why I'm encouraging this, and I hope everyone goes away from this of like you can do this everywhere you go and share with people and like really create safety and in a way of like us just being in presence, right? As soon as we're all grounded together, as soon as we're all grounded, present together, as soon as we're all kind of regulated enough in and of ourselves, and to be honest, one person really regulated is enough that it will start helping everyone else regulate.
Yeah.
But if we're all self-regulated, then that's where this super conscious connected breathing kind of can start happening, right? Yes.
I'm almost there, yeah.
Oh,
No,
need a few more breaths.
I truly thank you for being here today. I almost did come, and I'm grateful that I came, and I just, it explains a lot of what I've been doing, and I couldn't give it, so I'm super grateful for you. Yeah, I haven't been taken by the speaker this much.
Well,
Thank
the
you.
breath gets most of the credit, but thank you for breathing here and now. And maybe I'll share this quick of like this form of conscious connected breathing that will be an opportunity after, or if you want to practice on your own. And I'll be honest, like I share this with everyone. Like to me, it's freeware. It's breathing is the natural currency, you could say. It's the currency that we're breathing in oneness with. But physiologically and physically speaking, different tests have been done with respects to lucid dreaming, which you may or may not have heard of, but it's essentially being able to be aware in your dream. But if life's a dream, and we're not aware, right? So in these studies, they've noticed that when people go into REM, rapid eye movement, that's usually coincides with them having a lucid dream experience. You know, however you want to, it's kind of what led them into this. But then the next thing they noticed is everyone went into the same breathing pattern autonomously, but only when rested enough, grounded enough, safe enough, which all of us essentially, if we rest long enough and go into this state at night, our body naturally accesses that. So it goes into this cyclical breathing, connecting everything up. That's then dreams start showing up. And you can see if you're overtired or overwhelmed, then it would be hard to be conscious in your dream and be aware of that lucid dreaming per se. And this is why what we do with conscious connected breathing and super conscious, where we, bring in all the elements and prayers and our ancestors and everything, is I like to say it's like lucid breathing, where we're bringing that subconscious or unconscious activity that our body naturally does to encourage healing or awareness or whatever you want to say. But we're bringing that into the conscious waking life. We're consciously engaging that, which rather than we're waiting for a lucid dream where, yay, I can choose these things and dream this dream. We do that in this life with this breath and starting now. And this is the dream. We're already here. Does anyone else have anything? Otherwise, we can eventually go to a meditation.
For myself, my journey, I found before when I had low self-esteem, low self-worth, my breath was very shallow and I just exist. And now as I'm healing, my breath gets better.
Yeah. Yeah. Feeling more like yourself and breathing more of the spirit of who you are. And you're kind of queuing up the meditation. We're going to talk about or kind of identify 6 core wounds, which when we feel in that, right? If someone here is like, says something that's painful to me, and I go, like sink into myself and stop breathing, you can see all of a sudden my energy is going down, my worth's going to go down. I'm mad they said that, or I wish someone would talk about something that's not valuable rather than really breathing with that. And it's through this conscious participation with all of our feelings that essentially we can begin to wholly embody ourselves again.
Just have to make one quick point, Debbie. It sounds like you just kind of given us the other side of the piece. Nicholas is talking about changing your breath to change your experience of life. You're saying your experience of life changed, and as a result, your breath changed.
Yes.
So you can approach it from both ends. You can approach it from the breathing end. Pardon me?
I'm breathing.
Right, but you're not you're not intentionally going, I'm gonna breathe more now. It's like as you're healing, you're naturally breathing more deeply, right? So it can go both ways, which is kind of
Totally.
interesting.
Totally. Nature doesn't care if we're sleeping or awake. It's still going to do everything to try and help us in our bodies and do everything to try and create homeostasis. And that the difference is once we bring in our conscious intention, now nature can kind of work with us, guide us, and maybe speed up the process. And this is why sometimes people have these different experiences with life that they weren't planning, right? Or weren't conscious were going to happen or weren't dreaming of already. They call them like aha moments or moments that take your breath away. Now you gotta go, what am I gonna do now, spirit? But yeah, that's the difference. And I've seen it so many times, especially living out in the forest, of like people show up in different vibrations, especially little children sometimes, and they're all wired up and they go to run into the forest and all of a sudden they trip over the first stick or whatever, and then they're crying or not or whatever. And it's like immediately grounding, immediately got to get present with their feelings, immediately their breath, and they let it all go. And then usually within 5 minutes, they just like and reset and on to the next thing, right? Some adults come and the same thing happens, and they're like, oh no, I do this. And I'm trying to say, just breathe like a child and it'll be okay. But yeah, sure.
I noticed during COVID, when we all went into fear, there was a lot of conversation about our dreaming states changed.
Mhm.
So what you're saying now makes sense in terms of the breath that we take when we're in fear. It will affect our dream state.
Yeah, and our frequency, essentially our authenticity is our frequency, which is our real felt feeling experience, and our originality is our vibration. So you can see if our vibration is being dictated by someone else, if our frequency is being programmed by fear, it makes us susceptible to certain frequencies and vibrations. And I remember the moment I was in Nelson, BC, and kind of overwhelmed with the fear, and it was in the March of that year and whatever. And I was there, and all of a sudden I felt this like energy on my chest and stuff, and I was on my computer reading about it, and I remember just being like, this is it. This is whatever this is that. And the first thing I did was lay down on the floor and started consciously connected breathing. And within 5 minutes, I felt that energy dissipate from me. I've felt different effects and such and experiences since, but that like override of myself by that fear and stuff, because ultimately we're creators and we're creators of our experience, and we can co-create with reality that way. But as soon as we go into fear and disconnect from our heart and disconnect from our presence and our breath, then it truly disempowers us. Not that we'd want to be avoiding fear. It's actually fear is there as a like safety mechanism, you could say, of our body feeling fear, different than real and present danger. Fear that shows up, it's like our body saying, hey, you're thinking things that aren't aligned with you. You're feeling things that aren't going to serve you. You're in a situation that's not love. As soon as we honor that, embrace the fear, breathe with it, it clears, and then it often opens to love. And then often that fear will fractal into awareness of like, oh, that's why in this and that, like you can kind of feel happening. Thank you though, and thank you for trusting your breath and your heart and your presence, because it's just as easy to do that as go the other way. Anyone else? Or shall we move into a little meditation? Yes?
I don't often think of myself as a very spiritual person. I'm not from here. I'm traveling and sort of got invited to be in this space, and it's been a really interesting experience. And I just wanted to thank everyone for being so welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Don't ever call yourself not spiritual again. Because as long as you're breathing, you are, and you're one of the people who just like the gratitude spirit. Which if you were that everywhere you went, well, that's a candle in every room.
Yeah, but it can be a struggle for me to like drop into some of those kind of I'm too much in my head.
There you go.
So,
We're part of the same club.
yeah.
So I really like the visualization with that breath. It's a circle, but I also like to see it as an infinity connection. Where then you can bring that line down into your heart, drop it into your belly, and you can bring that up and around and just be in this kind of cyclical, infinite connection. And yeah, I mean, it happens, right? I mean, this spirit, this thought, that thought. But as soon as you can bring it back to center, right? All that then can be served in the center of love. Anyone else?
Meditate.
So we have a little meditation. Feel free if you need to stand up and shake yourself out. I'll be honest, I like do headstands sometimes mid-conversation with people. It's fun to see how they react when they're like talking. Why are you doing a headstand? I'm like, no, I can hear you. Just keep talking. They're, well, I don't really want to talk about what I was talking about if you're doing yoga. I'm like, good. Do you want to do yoga right now? Do you want to feel it?
Instead of it being normal.
Yeah. This is why I still do in ways, but I like to say breath work and play. When if there isn't play, it's not really working the way I think it needs to. And if it's too much play without the work, then here we are. So thank you everyone for sharing your breath and breathing thus far. To continue this kind of breathing, embodiment, resonating. I know everyone's got stories, everyone's got things going on, everyone's got medicine they can share, but the intention with this meditation is to kind of cue up all these feelings by listing these things, just as we're breathing and meditating, where, instead of me talking and someone sharing for 10 minutes, or here's this story from 10 years ago or whatever, all potentially valid and informative and wise or not, we're going to, through our feeling and resonance, integrate that through the meditation as we're breathing. I'm going to cue up these kind of different things move us through a flow, just kind of listing them. So just listen with your breath, just feel with your body, and just keep breathing. And at the end of the meditation, we're going to complete with a little shared song all together kind of thing for us to harmonize, at which point people are, of course, free to get some coffee or leave if you need to, or go on ground and join for the 30-minute kind of more integrated, deeper breathing, lay down and let it all go and celebrate all the love of yesterday and every day and any day. But yeah, I'm ready if you are to meditate. Some say the difference between like meditation and breath work is if we're just meditating, it's just mental. And when you come out of the meditation, you got to integrate that. If you're breathing in oneness and awareness while you're meditating, like we do with breath work, you're integrating as it's happening. Then you don't need to go and integrate. You can go share your experience. So peace to all the meditators, all the breathers, all the people present. Let's continue this conscious, connected breath, perhaps, utilizing that infinite connection, filling your belly, heart, and chest, letting that connect every breath. Hurry, force, overfill, just breathing in a way that feel grateful enough to let go and just continue this flow of breath. Our connection to this world, to our body, perhaps as here and now, you can imagine not just breathing belly, but breathing from your soles of your feet, and that from your roots going down like your legs, your nerves, your nervous system, and connecting into the wood of the floor, and deeper the more you breathe, connecting into the earth like you're a tree, our ancestries. And just with every breath, letting those roots grow deeper down, deeper down, deeper down, till you feel like that's enough for my little tree of life here. And just continuing to breathe in and out, just letting those roots nourish you and draw the breath through those roots and up and through your legs, and feel that spark in your belly, and that's encouraging you to give birth to every breath that fulfills yourself into your heart and branches into all the way in, all the way around. Just like the roots connected all the way down, growing up and out to match your root. Perhaps those roots can go all the way to the center. Those branches can go all the way up, connect with all the stars. Let all the stars, ancestor stars, are connected to your branches with every breath. Filling yourself with dark to light, letting honoring all the bright that comes in every breath. Filling your belly, filling your heart, filling your lungs, filling your tree of life, and imagining this all surrounding you that includes all the stars and the whole world, where you are safely centered, finally breathing, aligning every breath. And as we're breathing, I'm going to bring in some of the wounds that one can feel on this journey of life. It's like a tree that is a branch. Experience a windstorm. The top 6 core wounds, which usually end in conversation or a relationship or all these different ways we could continue breathing with what we're feeling. I'm encouraging the continuation of the breath. The first one is the abandonment. Just feel into your breath. All the times you abandon yourself breathing by stopping instead of breathing. Maybe some of your experience. Sometimes you may be scared of being rejected or have rejected. Experience someone seemingly rejecting you. I like to say is redirection back to your breath. And all that comes with feelings of being trapped, wanting to escape. Things get challenging. Rather than letting those feelings really challenge you to breathe deeper, more whole, breathe. Letting that go of fruit in your tree and nourishment for your roots. Third is the intimacy, feeling shameful or guilty about past sexual choices or connecting experiences, sensuality. See your breath, moments like that, that we're all letting them out, breathing intimately with ourselves, one another now, knowing this is the foundation for intimacy. Spirit, Father, really embracing those feelings, which brings us to the next wound, which is vulnerability. The vulnerability wound, which is really a powerful state of being like a child. Curious. We can embrace it and be safe. Often comes with feeling scared to be mocked again for past choices, which may have caused an experience of unsafe environment or connection. Just bringing those vulnerable feelings into your breath, into that tree. Passion follows moments where perhaps you are not, you know, or breathing. Brings us to the responsibility wound, which is feeling worried about being judged, the idea of letting other people down, really kind of feeling crushed by that, carrying too much, and just letting that go with your breath, letting it flow and grow with your tree of life. Which brings us to the sixth burden wound, which is feeling a sense of dread in the pit of your stomach or your closed off diaphragm and getting overwhelmed by day-to-day tasks. Perhaps just forgiving yourself with your breath for any of those moments and reminding yourself with this tree and forest of us breathing with you that, you know, you can let go of that. And if you ever feel that or any of these wounds, may this breath inspire you to come back to presence, come back to your breath, to take 10, 11, however many seconds you need to be present with that breath. Just in this silence of our breath, breathing with all that energy, you can see how we're all feeling. And hopefully in clarity, it's just like if we had a sharing circle. What are you really feeling? What's going on? What's not going right? Those would cover a lot of those feelings. So just to quickly list the 6 types of courage, I would encourage you to breathe with everyone, at least one conscious breath, and perhaps whispering to your heart, saying, I am courageous. The first is physical courage, which is the breath to keep going with resiliency, balance, and awareness. The second is social courage, which is to be yourself unapologetically, unless you feel the need to apologize. The third is moral courage, which is doing the right thing, even when it's uncomfortable or unpopular. The fourth is emotional courage, which is feeling all of your emotions, positive and negative, without guilt or attachment. The fifth is intellectual courage, which is the encouragement to learn, unlearn, and relearn with an open and flexible mind. And the sixth is spiritual courage, which is living with purpose, meaning, purpose and meaning through a heart-centered approach towards life and oneself. I want to say thank you to everyone for breathing with all those wounds and all that courage to release that and receive the love on the other side at center of your tree in this bubble of living, loving life. And may this memory and this seed and this protection and guidance be with you for all the breaths you breathe, knowing you can come back to this state and this presence and this peace whenever you need to breathe and be and embody. And maybe just lastly, bringing all that energy in, collapsing that bubble back to your heart, knowing that your body is like that little bubble. And just giving thanks for that tree of life that is within you, per se, your nervous system. And maybe offering thanks to your nervous system for all the experiences you've had, all the times you listened or not, just bringing forgiveness and gratitude and compassion to yourself, to your heart center. Let that be the seed of your tree to remember that you're always enough if you breathe. And we are truly divine human being. Just breathe.